Thank you, Srividya. I would like to start by congratulating the Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance and the industry for taking this initiative to organize the first global summit, which has got off to a rousing start with the highly inspiring address that we just heard from the Honorable Prime Minister of India. I'm also honored because I get to join in this session with two of the stalwarts in India who are leading this entire transformation, Dr. Vijay Raghavan, the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister, and Dr. Paul, Member Health in Niti Aayog. This summit is aligned with the commitment of the government to promote Indian pharmaceuticals as a globally competitive sector to ensure access, quality, and affordability of medicines in domestic and global markets. This will be a mantra that I will be referring to throughout my talk with you. Now, one of the key policy measures to achieve this objective is certainly to increase attention in India to research and development and innovation, which accounts for 2/3 of the global pharmaceutical opportunity, a point that has been mentioned by Shri Pankaj Bhai Patel in his opening address. Government of India has taken several measures to support research and promote innovation in this sector. In this session, I would like to address two issues. Why has innovation become so important right now for the pharmaceutical sector? And two, what makes policy intervention necessary in this field? If one takes a quick review of the pharmaceutical industry, its role in driving better health outcomes across the world by being a large and reliable supplier of affordable, good quality generic drugs is quite clear. India has helped improve access by supplying about 22% of generics worldwide, by being the second largest exporter of Ayurveda and alternative medicines in the world. And the industry's contribution has become even more prominent in 2020 and 2021 as India has supported the global battle against the COVID-19 pandemic by managing to maintain drug supplies to almost 200 countries, even during the darkest days of the pandemic. Now, new opportunities are opening up in biologics and biosimilars. The global biosimilar market opportunity is expected to grow to something like $70 billion over the next 5 to 6 years. In India, there are already about 100 biosimilars approved till last year, and a vibrant biopharmaceutical industry reports another 40 plus biosimilars are at various stages of development. We saw in the last couple of years, Indian industry coming forward to manufacture biospecific antibodies, ADCs, MABs. Also, the vaccine sector. In India, with its proven capacity for manufacturing at scale, catering, as has been mentioned, about 60% of the global demand of UNICEF, that has also benefited by talented vaccine developers that have been at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. The role of ICMR and BIRAC supporting vaccine candidates in India over multiple platforms has been unprecedented. And I'm sure Dr. Paul, who led much of this effort, and Dr. Vijay Raghavan will no doubt share their insights from this journey. From the industry perspective, I would say that the pandemic brought into the forefront the role of innovation in expanding scale, access, and affordability of healthcare products, not only pharmaceuticals, but also medical supplies, medical equipment. The role of innovation in providing vaccines we have seen and medical supplies at scale and of quality that can work in countries at different stages of development has become quite important. We saw the repurposing of drugs. We saw the reconfiguration of supply chains. All of this has been critical to the management of the pandemic. The high public attention to drug development, vaccine development, the proliferation of personalized medical devices, All of this has brought discussion on issues relating to efficacy of medicines, patient safety, therapeutic outcomes, from the laboratories and research institutions to the living rooms. On the other side, the increased spending on healthcare globally the last couple of years, the growing size of the Indian middle class over the last decade, the change in disease profiles, not just in the advanced economies, but also in developing countries. In India, the commitment to universal healthcare, the thrust to schemes like Pradhan Mantri, Ayush Yojana, Ayush Bharat, Ayushman Bharat, they have also created a upward demand trajectory for the pharma and medical technology sectors. So we are witnessing an inflection point where we need to match industry effort to patient needs while remaining wedded to the mantras of access, affordability, and quality. Capture these opportunities, I do believe, the pharmaceutical sector in India would have to move out of its comfort zone and adopt innovation as a driving feature of its business strategies. Industry would have to focus on drug delivery, drug development, research, and not just on production volumes and costs. Process innovation through greater automation, digital processes, green manufacturing will also become more critical in production efficiency. We already are seeing the move from batch processing to continuous processing. The use of AI and ML, data analytics, NLP in clinical functions in research cycle will also see greater convergence between IT and healthcare sector. So successful innovation on all these fronts, I believe, will need cross-sectoral energy. In this context, the Indian pharmaceutical sector, of course, is well poised to work towards the vision of innovate in India, discover in India, and build a strong ecosystem in the industry for healthcare innovation, leveraging an already strong domestic manufacturing capacity, strong financial capacity, export experience, and depth of technical capabilities. In fact, the sustained growth and expansion of the pharmaceutical sector from out of India at the global level will now rest predominantly in its ability to capture the value of innovation. I am sure that Dr. PSA will also speak on this aspect. However, I would now move to the second question. Why is policy intervention necessary? And I could ask, what kind of policies are needed? I would say the answer lies as to why policy intervention is required in three aspects of the pharma sector, three or four in fact. One, as you know, this sector is one of the most highly regulated sector. Research into new products is regulated across the entire cycle from conceptualization, trial design, preclinical studies, post-release pharmacovigilance. There is a huge regulatory overburden. Second, the cost, time, and effort needed in developing new molecules, new chemical entities, new biologics are quite immense. And three, the public health benefits of developing higher availability of more affordable and efficacious medicines are very significant. So this is innovation in the pharma sector is almost like a public good. The fourth aspect I would say, which is also perhaps characteristic in the Indian sector, is that public research in pharma sector is dispersed across a large number of research institutions working under various departments like the CSIR, the departments of biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, and health research. So convergence and collaboration also needs a policy push. Government has been taken measures to address these issues from time to time, and industries has been a very active and very vibrant stakeholder in these measures. Now formalizing and expanding on these various initiatives taken from time to time, the Department of Pharmaceuticals has released recently in late October, as mentioned by Honorable Prime Minister in his inaugural address, a draft discussion paper on the policy to catalyze R&D and innovation in the pharma medtech sector in India. And I do believe that this policy tries to address the aspects that I have just mentioned, which are essential to achieving large-scale R&D spending and innovation-driven growth in pharmaceuticals. The policy aims to create an ecosystem approach for innovation in this sector so that India can aspire to become a leader in drug discovery and also in innovative medical devices, to incubating an entrepreneurial environment. As I mentioned, this in turn has a larger global good attached to it because it will contribute to the global attainment of the Sustainable Development Goal 03 and the specific target 3.8, which is access to safe, effective, quality, and affordable essential medicines and vaccines for all. I will touch upon the policy itself for just about 5 minutes now. One is it focuses on three main pillars on which it will be propelled. The first is strengthening the regulatory framework. The second is to incentivize investments into the pharma sector for innovation. And the third is to create a facilitatory and collaborative ecosystem for innovation. A few words on each of them. The first, as I mentioned, is to create a regulatory environment that facilitates innovation in product development, expanding the traditional regulatory objectives of safety and quality. Currently, there is no differentiation in favor of innovation. That is perhaps necessary if we are to enable industry to take the risk and come forward with products that would serve public health goals more efficiently. To ensure this kind of a regulatory bias in favor of innovation, we have suggested in the policy 4 lines of action. One would be process optimization, requiring all the regulators to work together so as to reduce the process overlapping, establish timelines for requisite approvals, reduce the compliance burden. The second would be to have a technology-based single end-to-end digital portal or platform that can be used by different regulators and will offer a single interface between innovator and regulator. It could be developed being equipped with automated transfer of data across agencies, artificial intelligence-backed dossier review, efficiency identification using NLP, and well-managed document and workflows. Both these policy prescriptions are aimed to bring transparency, timeliness, and predictability in processes and outcomes around regulation and thus support the thrust towards innovation. I'm happy to report that the Health Ministry, which has the drug regulator under their jurisdiction, has already initiated regulatory streamlining along these lines. And during the course of this summit, I think we will hear more from them on this. A couple of other components that we have suggested in the policy for regulatory strengthening or facilitation is to improve the existing institutional capacity to enable regulators to deal with innovative products, whether in biopharmaceuticals, whether in high-end medical devices, so that they can help add value to the entire regulatory process of innovative products rather than create challenges. There is also a pricing issue involved in introduction of regulatory innovative products. So the policy also suggests that the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority should be supported to develop greater expertise in pricing of new innovative products while pursuing affordability as the overall objective. And finally, I think on the regulatory front, a review of the multiple regulatory legislations which impact R&D in pharmaceuticals is also necessary so that inconsistencies and redundancies can be removed. The second pillar or second focus area of this policy is to incentivize private and public investments in innovation through a mix of fiscal and non-fiscal measures. thereby matching risk with remunerative financing options. Already in a very direct mode of support to the industry, the production linked scheme has been launched with an outlay of about $2 billion, which specifically targets innovative products beyond the generic space and looks to improve our manufacturing capabilities in biopharmaceuticals, gene and cell therapy, orphan drugs, phytopharmaceuticals, excipients, complex generics, etc. But there is a need to enhance overall funding and support for private investment in innovation, which is currently significantly lower as compared to leading hubs globally. And this is necessary because there is a long gestation period, there is technological and regulatory complexity, and external uncertainties associated with the research in pharmaceuticals. So the policy lays down various options of providing both fiscal and non-fiscal incentives by introduction of tax regimes, indirect funding support to R&D spending by industry, specific support to SMEs and entrepreneurs to innovate, building synergy across existing funds, such as the National Research Fund, which is headed up by our Principal Scientific Advisor, and Biotech Innovation Fund, creating dedicated seed capital funds, and exploring the options for listing innovation funds. So there is a large menu of options that have been identified in the draft policy and which will be built upon as we go forward. The third pillar of the policy, and which I believe is one of the key areas of work in policy, is the need to build enabling ecosystem which is designed to support innovation and cross-sectoral research as a strong institutional foundation for sustainable innovation in the pharmaceutical sector. I already mentioned that there are a large number of institutions working on pharmaceutical research, and these need to be supported with a wider ecosystem that systematically recognizes, facilitates, and rewards collaboration. Countries that have done so are reaping the market benefits and rewards of innovation. So building such a institutional ecosystem will also help to create a balance of equity with efficiency motivations. So that will align both the market and the societal forces towards the goal of universal healthcare. So here, once again, I would like to emphasize that there is a strong role for public research institutions to provide that kind of a balance and that kind of a depth to research and innovation in the pharmaceutical sector. Already, we have an interdepartmental committee that tries to bring together the research that is being done by different research institutions spread across various departments. This committee has recently endorsed a proposal to undertake a drug discovery mission on a collaborative mode across public research institutions. It has also blessed the decision of going forward with a focused research program through the NIPERS. And I do believe that this will go further because the policy now looks at three important components in building this ecosystem. One is strengthening academia and industry linkage. There is a lot of potential for industry participation in modernizing curriculum so that you can prepare manpower to navigate, if not lead, the technology changes in research, in improving the accountability and governance of public research institutions. There is possibly an option here to design a policy to encourage academicians to move into entrepreneurship and to encourage young people who come into research to also explore their entrepreneurial capabilities. The other institutional or structural mechanism that is suggested by the policy is setting up of an interdepartmental research council on pharma and medtech as a very agile and slim structure, which will focus on resource optimization, on creation of observatory for R&D prioritization, leading drug discovery mission as a multi-institutional initiative, public and private partnership, and supporting individual research institutions in excellence in selected disease areas, including neglected diseases and tropical So these, we do believe, this huge gamut of policy interventions that are covered in the policy that is out there for comments, and we have already received a considerable support from the industry, would help to transform this industry from its current strengths to an entirely quantum leap into an innovation driven industry with greater global and domestic impact, with the overall, as I said, overarching goals of the SDG 03 and ensuring affordable, quality, reliable medicines to all. I think the challenges faced globally during the pandemic years of 2020 and 2021 have generated insights that growth must also serve in the pharma sector, must also serve the aims to assure drug security, diversify supply chains, increase access, and meet healthcare needs at scale. Whereas other support, in the form of regulations, financing, manufacturing infrastructure, skilled manpower, cross-border cooperation will no doubt be necessary for achieving these multiple objectives. Uh, this summit will, I hope, serve to show that innovation and research will be foundational to sustaining the attainment of these objectives. We look forward to inputs from all participants. Of course, I look forward to hearing the wisdom of speakers in this session on how we can build a very robust policy landscape that will facilitate industry to meet these public health objectives. Thank you, Srividya.